Good evening. On behalf of the Collinsville Police Department and the Awards Committee, I would like to welcome you to the Collinsville Police Department 2011 Awards Ceremony. My name is Sergeant Brett Borum, and I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for the evening. This evening, we will be showcasing a few examples of the exemplary effort and service to the City of Collinsville by its police officers, support staff, and members of our community. Thank you for your attendance and continued support. Before we commence with the award ceremony tonight, I would like to introduce Police Chief Scott Williams. Without his support and dedication, acknowledging excellence within the department, we would be unable to be here this evening. Chief.
Well, I want to thank all of you who are here. We're here to honor the men and women of the police department and the community who work very hard to keep you all safe all year long. So, Brett, thanks very much for handling the duties tonight. Jim, welcome. I want to let all of you know that Jim Donahue is going to do the opening prayer for us in a few minutes, but he does have to leave right after his prayer. So I don't want anybody to think he's running out on us. Jim, we appreciate you being here. Thank you.
At this time, I would ask everyone to stand while the Collinsville Police Department Honor Guard posts the colors. At this time, will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can be seated. Right now, it's my pleasure to introduce the Collinsville Police Department Police Chaplain, Mr. Jim Donahue. Mr. Donahue will lead us in prayer.
If I could say something very quickly, the other day there was a code at the hospital, and it was a police officer's dad. And Scott, Chief Williams, and others have taught me about the family and that exists among police officers. And within a matter of minutes, fellow officers of the son whose dad was dying were there to give support. It was an awesome reminder of how close kinship you really are. Join me in prayer, please. Almighty God, we so oftentimes pray for the officers who patrol our streets, who govern the processes of our safety. And tonight I do begin by praying for their families, for the support and peace within their homes, for the encouragement sometimes to take on big tasks because of the officer who's occupying a car, or sometimes doing things that the family doesn't even know what's going on. So I pray for their families, and I do pray for peace in their homes. As these officers serve our community, I pray for respect among us as citizens, that we could honor and respect those who seek to make our lives better. You speak about your servants, those who lead us in our communities, and I pray that you would let your peace be with them as they are your servants to us. I'm constantly amazed and listening and talking and sharing in difficulties in life about how these officers can go from one moment of almost being an idol to a next moment of being in a life-threatening situation. And I pray for their protection, and I pray for their safety, that you would watch over them and that you would protect them. And Father, when there is no place else that they can turn for community, I give you great thanks for the community that exists among these your servants. Continue to bless them in that kind of friendship and family relationship. And most of all, Lord, keep your peace among these who serve us. I pray in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Jim. Before we continue, we would ask for a moment of silence while we each reflect on friends, family, and fellow officers no longer with us, and members of the military serving overseas protecting our freedoms. Thank you. Guests, friends, family members of the Collinsville Police Department, will you please stand? All of you are the primary reason why we strive for excellence and relentlessly pursue evil in our community. Thank you for your love, devotion, patience, and support. You can be seated. Will members of the Collinsville Police Department support staff please stand? Collinsville Police Department support staff is often heard, but they're not seen. These are the men and women that are answering 911 calls. They're dispatching the Collinsville Police Department and the Fire Department to emergency calls for service, talking with victims on the phone, speaking with witnesses and complainants at the front desk of the police department. They're tallying citations, they're writing reports. The support staff services are the unsung heroes at the Collinsville Police Department, and without their support, we simply could not function. Perhaps we don't say it enough, but thank you for your dedication, support, and professionalism. Thank you. Will the members of the Collinsville Police Department sworn personnel please stand? From barking dog complaints to murder and everything in the middle, it's an unfortunate reality that we generally see the uglier side of life. Through it all, we keep pursuing excellence and we never ever quit. It is a pleasure to work alongside you, and I personally thank you for keeping our families safe and the community safe. Before we begin the actual award ceremony, I would like to recognize and thank several people for helping make this evening special. You guys can please stand or have a seat. Tonight, the awards committee would like to recognize members of the department and the community for enhancing this program that you're about to see tonight. First, the awards committee would like to recognize Deputy Clerk Mike Christensen, who's acting as our photographer tonight. He does an excellent job every year for this, and as well as the Citizens Police Academy. So thank you, Michael. Second, we would like to recognize Ms. Kelly Fark. She is the City of Collinsville Cable Access Coordinator. She's in the back of the room, and you will probably find this ceremony posted on the website here before too long. So thank you, Kelly. Without question, we certainly could not do this program as classy as we like to think we do without our honor guard. Team leader Paul Kilquist in the back of the room, Officer Luke Tillman, Jennifer Kerouac, and Jason Harrison. Thank you, guys. Mark Alvers from Alvers Video and Photography. He's responsible for videoing the ceremony here tonight. Thank you, Mark, for contributing to this, please. Thank you. Gateway Convention Center, Ms. Cindy Warkey and Ms. Kayleen Gifford, the event coordinator. They put together a fantastic event here for us. Last year was kind of trial by error. This year, I think we knocked out a lot of the bugs in the program, and we have a much nicer setup. So thank you if they're here in the room. And of course, Mr. Jim Donahue, police chaplain. I think he left, but thank you, Jim, again. And a man you're going to hear from for the rest of the night here in a few minutes, Mr. Rick Kapika. He's the MC. He will be our MC, and he works for WIL. Rick, thank you for your contributions. The awards committee would also like to recognize the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. The commissioners are responsible for hiring, promoting, and in some cases even disciplining officers. Tonight I know I've seen Mr. Bob Safuri. Bob, if you could please stand, be recognized. Thanks, Bob. We appreciate everything you do. Also members include Ms. Judy Bricky, I don't believe she's here, and Mr. Jesse Hoskins. At this time, I'd like to introduce the other members of the awards committee. We've been tasked with reviewing the awards nominations throughout the year, and I can tell you, and I can testify, it was a very difficult task. We were forced to choose from several award nominations, and it was a very difficult job. We have so many talented professional officers exceeding departmental expectations daily, which made our job very difficult. And this is really a good problem to have as members of the awards committee. So thanks, guys. It's been an honor working with you guys. Please stand. Sergeant Gary Skaggs, Sergeant Chuck Mackin, Sergeant Eric Herman, Lieutenant Todd Link, Lieutenant Rich Wittenauer, and he's not present, and he is the awards committee chairman, Lieutenant Eric Zaber. Although I've already introduced Chief Williams, I'd like to introduce Collinsville Police Department command staff. Major Dave Roth, and the Major Tom Capitelli. Tonight we're proud to have many leaders and dignitaries with us. Collinsville Police Department would like to acknowledge our city leaders. Their continued support of the Collinsville Police Department is greatly appreciated. I know Miss Nancy Moss is present. Nancy, thank you. Miss Liz Dalton, Mr. Jeff Kipta, and Mike Tognorelli are the other three councilmen. I don't think they were able to be here tonight. Also, we have several members of the O'Fallon Police Department command staff in the audience. They include Captain Jeff Wild, Captain Eric Van Hook, and Lieutenant Mark Berry, and they're here to support one of their officers who is going to receive an award here tonight. Thanks, guys. I'm pleased to introduce Mayor John Miller, accompanied by his wife, Diane. Mr. Miller, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for the opportunity to address such a fine-looking group. I would like to commend Chief Williams and the staff and the awards committee. I know your job of picking the awardees this evening had to be a very difficult job because all of the officers, the council appreciates the job that you do. And I would personally like to thank the awardees this evening and all of the officers for the citizens of Collinsville for the fine job of protecting this city against crime and corruption and keeping it safe for all of those who call the city of Collinsville home. So thank you, and thank you to the wives and families who spend time alone when they're out patrolling the street, because I know you care about your loved one when they're out there on the street working, and I know that, and we appreciate the fact that you share them with the citizenry of Collinsville. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, this evening we have a number of awards to present. Tonight's MC, as I said, is going to be Mr. Rick Anthony of WIL, which he will be announcing the awards. Prior to the announcement of each award, Mr. Anthony will call the name or names of each award recipient. When you hear your name, please make your way to the chairs next to the stage here that we have set up. and be seated while Mr. Anthony reads the merits of your award. When Mr. Anthony is finished reading the award, please make your way toward the stage, where you'll be greeted by Chief Williams and the rest of the awards committee and command staff. Once you've received your award, please make your way across the stage, where the Collinsville Police Department command staff and awards committee will acknowledge your accomplishment. After you exit the stage, please return to your seat. Photo opportunities will be available following the awards ceremony. At this time, I'd like to turn the ceremony over to Mr. Rick Anthony.
First off, I would like to say thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Chief, distinguished guests, members of the community. I am a Collinsville resident. Like several of my other disc jockeys here at WIL, we do live in Collinsville. Paul Jeffries, Derek Keith, all members of Collinsville, and we thank you very much. And I thank the staff and Mark Keekley for inviting me to be a part of this ceremony tonight. It means a lot to me to be a part of this. I did 20 years in the United States Air Force, so I stood on the stage many times in my career, and I know what it means to receive one of these awards, and it is a lot of love and sweat and accomplishments, and it is something that should be honored and cherished, and it's nice to see so much family and members of the community here tonight to be a part of this very, very nice evening. Now, the first award of the evening is the Chief Citizens Award. Is presented to a citizen in recognition and appreciation of outstanding effort and service to the department and the citizens of the city of Collinsville. This award shall be issued in the form of a letter and a certificate from the Chief of Police. The Chief of Police may award the certificate at the Chief's discretion, or because of a recommendation by the awards committee acting upon nominations submitted by the members of the department. When I call your name, please come forward and assume one of the chairs over here. George Croter, Clarence Spike Bryant, Lanny Altenberger, Steve Heislar, Carl Altenberger, Tate Merton, Angie Merton, Don Vleck, Linus Stevenson, Jerry Urbeck, Matt Payne, Diane Wilds, Devin Barber, Anthony Ronzo, Alan Lackament, Jeff Meadows, Richard Hulse, Dan Mitchell, Mike Keith, Janet Johnson, and Priscilla Hale. Lieutenant Eric Zaber nominated the Collinsville Emergency Management Agency, the SEMA, for the Chief's Citizens Award. The Collinsville SEMA volunteers embodied their mission statement, which is to have a trained group of individuals that would be able to respond to emergency situations in the city as needed. This group of trained individuals would be able to offer support to the city's departments so that the continuity of government would be intact and truly in function throughout an emergency. Although the Chief Citizens Award is typically awarded to an individual, the Collinsville Police Department wanted to recognize the dedicated service of the men and women of SEMA for their selfless donation to the city of Collinsville. In 2011, SEMA members volunteered over 1,000 hours of service and time to the city of Collinsville. The SEMA volunteers frequently assisted the Collinsville Police Department with traffic control, crowd control, role-playing scenarios. They also supplement our manpower following natural and man-made disasters. SEMA volunteers rarely receive the limelight for their contributions, and the Collinsville Police Department recognizes that, and the men and women serving in the community through the SEMA do not expect or desire recognition, which is all the more reason to publicly commend them on the job that they're doing. The Awards Committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding SEMA volunteers with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Citizens Award. George Croter, Clarence Spike Bryant, I think you're supposed to come forward when you hear your name called. George Croter, Clarence Spike Bryant, Lanny Altenberger, Steve Heislar, Carl Altenberger, Tate Merton, Angie Merton, Don Vleck, Linus Stevenson, Jerry Urbeck, Matt Payne, Diane Wilds, Devin Barber, Anthony Ronzo, Alan Lackamet, Jeff Meadows, Richard Hulse, Dan Mitchell, Mike Keith, Janet Johnson, and Priscilla Hale. I apologize if I got anyone's name incorrect. Will the following individuals please step forward? James McComas and Jeremy Kaufman. Either of these individuals here tonight? Okay. Officer Paul Kilquist nominated Rural King Loss Prevention agents James McComas and Jeremy Kaufman for the Chief's Citizens Award following an incident that occurred February 28, 2011, involving a combative retail theft suspect. Mr. McComas and Mr. Kaufman, both employees of Rural King, identified a suspicious person walking through Rural King. As they monitored the suspicious person, they saw him steal merchandise and exit the store. Mr. McComas and Mr. Kaufman followed the suspect out of the store and continued to follow him as he crossed Collinsville Road and into the parking lot behind the Jack in the Box restaurant. Mr. McComas and Mr. Kaufman contacted the Collinsville Police Department and directed Officer Kilquist to the suspect's location. Upon arrival, Officer Kilquist located the suspect and attempted to make contact with the suspect. The suspect continued to walk away from Officer Kilquist and failed to follow verbal commands. As Officer Kilquist approached the suspect and confronted him, the suspect immediately displayed an aggressive fighting stance. As Officer Kilquist attempted to arrest the suspect resisted arrest and forced Officer Kilquist to react accordingly. As Officer Kilquist attempted to gain control of the suspect grabbed Officer Kilquist's legs, causing him to momentarily lose control of the now combative and violent suspect. After a brief fight, Mr. McComas and Mr. Kaufman moved in and pulled the suspect off of Officer Kilquist, allowing Officer Kilquist to access his radio. Officer Kilquist called for emergency assistance and then deployed a taser into the suspect's leg, which immediately ended the struggle. Mr. McComas and Mr. Kaufman continued to restrain the suspect until Officer Kilquist secured him with handcuffs. Mr. McComas and Mr. Kaufman went above and beyond the employer's expectations and placed themselves in harm's way to help Officer Kilquist. Their selfless actions exemplify the essence of the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Citizens Award, and the awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding James McComas and Jeremy Kaufman with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Citizens Award. Not only do we have outstanding members of the Collinsville Police Department, we also have a member from the O'Fallon Police Department here with us tonight that will be receiving an award. Sergeant Carrie Andrews, will you please come forward? Acting Sergeant Melissa Cooper nominated O'Fallon Police Department Sergeant Carrie Andrews for the Chief Citizens Award following an incident that occurred February 12, 2011, involving the disarming of a Collinsville police officer at the VFW. While working an extra duty detail at the VFW, Collinsville Police Department officers attempted to intervene during a fight between several intoxicated persons. One of the combatants, standing 6'6" and weighing 340 pounds, attempted to failed to comply with law enforcement commands issued by the Collinsville Police Department. When officers attempted to escort the unruly patron from the VFW, he directed his aggression toward the officers and ripped away one of the officers' holsters, which secured his firearm in his off his duty belt. The disorderly suspect then threw the officer's holster and firearm into the crowd of onlookers, some sympathetic to the disorderly suspect. As the Collinsville Police Department attempted to gain control of the situation, a large crowd moved toward the officers and outnumbered them in a ratio of 10-1. Without hesitation, off-duty O'Fallon Police Department Sergeant Carrie Andrews and off-duty Collinsville Police Department Officer Mike Reichert provided assistance to the overwhelmed on-duty Collinsville Police Department officers to help fend off the angry, intoxicated crowd. Although Sergeant Andrews was not obligated to assist the Collinsville Police Department, he felt compelled to protect the officers from the agitated crowd. With Sergeant Andrews' help, the Collinsville Police Department was able to maintain control of the situation until additional police officers arrived on the scene. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured during the skirmish. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding O'Fallon Police Department Sergeant Carrie Andrews with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Citizens Award. Is Ms. Rebecca Harding here, please? Sergeant Eric Herman nominated Rebecca Harding for the Chief's Citizens Award following an incident that occurred August the 4th, 2011, involving a heroin overdose in the parking lot of the Motor Mart. Ms. Harding, a Motor Mart employee, was advised by concerned patrons that two young men seated in a parked vehicle in the Motor Mart lot needed assistance. Ms. Harding responded to the lot and observed that a passenger in the vehicle was purple in color and did not appear to be breathing. Unbeknownst to Ms. Harding, the passenger in the vehicle was actually suffering the ill effects of a heroin overdose. Although the driver of the vehicle ignored the passenger's grave condition, Ms. Harding took it upon herself and contacted 911. She removed the passenger from the vehicle, and he was completely unresponsive. Collinsville Fire Department responded to Ms. Harding's 911 call and resuscitated the patient. Yeah, I know they were good, but geez. I think we would have read about that one. Without her quick actions, it's believed that the victim probably would not have survived at the Motor Mart parking lot. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Rebecca Harding with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Citizens Award. Officer Mike Bauer nominated Randy Jennings, owner of Randy's Trailer Town, for the Chief Citizens Award for his generous contributions to the Collinsville Police Department. On August 22, 2011, the Collinsville Police Department speed trailer was criminally defaced while parked on Sycamore Street. Following the incident, the Collinsville Police Department asked for assistance from the community via a press release in an effort to identify the suspects responsible for the extensive damage. After viewing the local news, Mr. Jennings contacted Officer Mike Bauer and offered to repair the radar trailer at no cost to the Collinsville Police Department. Although the Collinsville Police Department wanted to thank Mr. Jennings for his gracious offer, he declined the limelight just like he's doing tonight. Mr. Jennings informed Officer Bauer he wanted to repair the trailer because it was the right thing to do and not for public attention. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Randy Jennings with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Citizens Award. I wish there were more individuals like that. Is Officer Talbot with us tonight? Officer Talbot, very good. The Major David H. Schneider DUI Award. The Major David H. Schneider Driving Under the Influence Award is presented to the officer that initiates the most DUI-related arrests in a calendar year. That individual is this individual to my left. According to the Illinois Department of Transportation, impaired driving-related deaths declined from 2006 to 2010. In 2006, Illinois law enforcement reported 446 deaths related to impaired driving on Illinois roadways. In 2010, 298 deaths related to impaired drivers were reported in the state of Illinois. Although a single alcohol-related or drug-related death on our roadways are really unacceptable, the Illinois Department of Transportation in 2011 reported that the number of fatal incidents due to drunk or impaired driving has continually decreased over the last 9 years. The Collinsville Police Department hopes in 2011 will continue the downward trend. We're not to be certain until we wind up receiving arrest reports from the Illinois law enforcement agencies, and those are completely tallied. The Major David H. Schneider Driving Under the Influence Award is presented to the officer that initiates the most DUI-related arrests in a calendar year. For the second year in a row, Officer Doug Talbot identified and arrested the most impaired drivers. In 2011, Officer Talbot arrested 26 alcohol-impaired or drug-impaired drivers. The Alliance Against Impaired Motorists eloquently states on their awards program website, the enforcement of DUI laws is thankless, time-consuming, and an unpleasant arrest situation. It is, however, one of the most important arrests that you can make on a regular basis. Officers who work hard every day in this area are not always recognized for their efforts, and they should be. Officer Talbert's contributions to the overall Collinsville Police Department's impaired driving influence or driver enforcement is critical in the overall mission of the department. DUI enforcement helps reduce accidents, save lives, and protect the people we are sworn to serve. Congratulations. Collinsville Police Department established the Officer of the Month Award to recognize the outstanding accomplishments of patrol officers. Collinsville Police Department established the following objectives for the Officer of the Month Award: to recognize the accomplishments of patrol officers assigned primarily to the patrol division, to provide incentives for superior performance, to encourage proactive, self-initiated enforcement activities that will result in the detection and suppression of crime and will make our community safer, and to encourage community policing activities among patrol officers. When you hear your name, I would ask you all to please rise. The January Officer of the Month was Officer Kilquist. February was Officer Pickerel. The March Officer of the Month was Officer Harrison. The April Officer of the Month was Officer Reichert. The May Officer of the Year of the Month Award was Officer Kuntz. The June Officer of the Month was Officer Talbot. The July Officer of the Month was Officer Jackson. Again, an Officer Talbot was for the month of August. For the month of September was Officer Pickerel. October was Officer Rowland. In November was Officer Talbot. And this month, will Officer Keith Jackson please come forth? Is that here? The December 2011 Officer of the Month Award was nominated by Sergeant Gary Skaggs to Officer Jackson for the December 2011 Officer of the Month. In December 2011, Officer Jackson handled a total of 146 calls for service, which included 90 self-initiated field activities, or 61% of his overall activities. Officer Jackson's SIFA included the following categories: 42 were traffic-related stops, 10 warrant services or attempted services, 9 traffic crash corridors, 9 building or business checks, and additionally, Officer Jackson made 8 misdemeanors and 4 felony arrests. Of the 4 felony arrests, 2 were particularly noteworthy. Incident report number PD-11-31610 involved the arrest of Natalia Trigg. Trigg was stopped for improper use of registration, a minor traffic violation. She was also driving a blue Ford Taurus that was bearing the registration assigned to a pink GMC carryall. Subsequent to the stop, Officer Jackson recalled an earlier intelligence report indicating Triggs and her passenger, Harry Gaston, were distributing narcotics. Based upon this information, Officer Jackson requested that Officer Mike Bauer respond to Officer Jackson's traffic stop and use his canine Blaze to conduct a sniff of the vehicle. Blaze alerted to the presence of drug odor emanating from the vehicle. After gaining consent to search the vehicle, Officer Jackson located cannabis, drug paraphernalia scale, a box of sandwich bags, and numerous prescription drugs within the vehicle. Trigg was arrested and charged with unlawful possession of a controlled substance, unlawful possession of cannabis, and unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. In an unrelated case, Officer Jackson was dispatched to a Walmart regarding a belated theft report. After meeting with the loss prevention officers, Officer Jackson received the details of the retail theft. Loss prevention reported that a white male entered the store, purchased several small items, and attempted to leave the store with a 46-inch flat-screen television set. After the loss prevention officer gave chase of the thief, later identified as Joseph E. Schwenk, he dropped the television, ran to his vehicle, and fled the area. A video camera was able to capture the vehicle, the suspect, the license plate, and with enough clarity to identify Schwenk. Officer Jackson conducted a computer check of the registration and identified the subject vehicle. He discovered the Collinsville Police Department had numerous contacts with the vehicle, and Schwenk was driving the vehicle during those contacts. Officer Jackson continued his investigation and found the driver's license photo of Schwenk, which was similar to the image of the suspect from the Walmart security photo. He also spoke to the registered owner of the vehicle and confronted her with Schwenk as the suspect. Officer Jackson completed a Madison County request for prosecution, and Schwenk was charged with burglary. The Meritorious Service Award. This certificate is bestowed upon a member of the department following recommendation to and approval of the Chief of Police for successful development and accomplishment of an administrative task or project in which the candidate displayed exceptional initiative, tenacity, and expertise, and when the candidate's submission of the idea, device, or method has been adopted by the department and has increased the administrative and operational efficiency of the department, or as a means of rewarding continuous long-term professionalism by a department member. Sergeant Berger here. Major Dave Roth nominated Sergeant Bill Berger for a Meritorious Service Award due to his achievements related to the Collinsville Police Department's crime-free multi-housing initiative. In 2005, the Collinsville Police Department began developing the crime-free multi-housing program. The foundation of the CFMH program started with a group of Collinsville Police Department police officers and the community service officers, CSO Kim Wasser, CSO Sherry Verstrati. My apologies if I got your name wrong there. The CFMH program is designed to target criminal behavior in or near rental properties. Through the target of the program is primarily rental properties. The effects of the program range from the quality of life issues to felonious criminal activities that are felt throughout the entire community. Through the CFMH ordinance after the CFMH ordinance was formally enacted, Sergeant Berger developed the CFMH training program for landlords who rent properties in the city of Collinsville. Once the landlords are identified, Sergeant Berger conducted multiple training seminars in the effort to form a partnership with the landlords and the Collinsville Police Department. Since its inception in 2010, Sergeant Berger has conducted 13 training classes and educated nearly 600 of the known landlords in the community. The results of the CFMH program are encouraging and noteworthy, and in 2011, the CFMH initiative helped decrease service calls by 34% in the 6 target areas in the community. Sergeant Berger's professionalism, dedication, positive attitude have developed in the implementation of the CFMH initiative, a program that was less popular with the landlords during the initial implementation. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Sergeant Bill Berger with the Collinsville Police Department's Meritorious Service Award for successful development and accomplishment of the CFMH initiative. Congratulations. Can't remember the last time I had to talk this much. Usually on the regular, they just have us talk for a few seconds at a time, but I hope you're enjoying this. The Chief's Critical Incident Award. The Chief's Critical Incident Award is presented in recognition of outstanding effort and performance while responding to a critical incident. The Chief's Critical Incident Award recognizes any individual, team, center, or centers who, by deed or act, make an extremely noteworthy contribution which results in a successful handling of a major incident or a combination of incidents beyond the average normal activity level. Will the following individuals please step forward? Sergeant Gary Skaggs, Officer Paul Kilquist, Officer Keith Jackson, Officer Brad Pickrell, Officer Robert Power, Officer Stephen Peerdick, Dispatchers Andrea Lindauer, Dispatchers Marissa Vickers, and Deputy Clerk Mike Christensen, who I believe has the camera. Sergeant Gary Skaggs nominated Officers Paul Kilquist, Keith Jackson, Brad Pickrell, Robert Powers, Stephen Peerdick, Dispatchers Andrea Lindauer, Marissa Vickers, and Deputy Clerk Mike Christensen for the Chief's Critical Incident Award following an incident on January 11th, 2011 involving an armed robbery in the Idlewood Estates area. At approximately 0:30 hours, the Collinsville Communications Center transmitted a hot tone and alerted the on-duty officers of an armed robbery that occurred in the Idlewood Estates area. Several members of the C Squad began driving toward the scene at Code 3, emergency lights and sirens, in an effort to apprehend the suspects. Before any pertinent information about the suspect's vehicle was broadcast, Officer Kilquist observed a black Cadillac driving the wrong way on North Morrison. Officer Kilquist initiated a traffic stop because the suspect's vehicle may have been connected with the armed robbery. Unbeknownst to Officer Kilquist, he did in fact stop the armed robbery suspects as they were fleeing the scene of the crime. While other units were responding to the Idlewood Estates area, the CCC provided the officers with additional information, including the suspect's direction of travel, the descriptions, and the subject's vehicle description, which happened to be a black Cadillac. Officer Kilquist approached the vehicle, secured the driver's information, and returned to his squad car. Officer Kilquist immediately notified the CCC. The vehicles within the vehicle there were three that matched the suspect's description provided by the victim. Officer Power responded to Officer Kilquist, while Officer Jackson and Officer Pickrell continued to the victim's location. Subsequent investigation led Officer Pickrell to bring the victim to the scene of his Officer Kilquist's traffic stop. While on the scene, the victim made a positive identification of the suspect's vehicle and the individuals who robbed him at gunpoint. Following their arrest, the suspect vehicle was searched, revealing 2 loaded, stolen handguns located beneath the driver and passenger seat, along with the victim's property taken in the robbery. Officers later discovered one of the suspects who had been arrested had an active arrest warrant in the state of Mississippi for a magnitude of crimes, including armed robbery and kidnapping. Through the coordinated, thorough, and diligent efforts of C Squad, the suspects of the armed robbery were apprehended quickly and without incident. The Awards Committee voted in favor of awarding Sergeant Gary Skaggs, Officers Paul Kilquist, Keith Jackson, Brad Pickrell, Robert Power, Stephen Peerdick, Dispatchers Andrea Lindauer, Marissa Vickers, and Deputy Clerk Mike Christensen with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Critical Incident Award for their exceptional response, effort, and performance during this critical incident. Congratulations. Will the following individuals please come forth? Sergeant Eric Herman, Officer Mike Bauer, Officer Paul Kilquist, Officer Luke Tillman, and his fan club, Officer Brad Akers, Officer Doug Talbot, Officer Ray Rowland, Officer Jason Harrison, and Detective Chris Meath. Lieutenant Todd Link nominated Sergeant Eric Herman, Officers Mike Bauer, Paul Kilquist, Luke Tillman, Brad Akers, Doug Talbot, Ray Rowland, and Jason Harrison, and Detective Chris Meath with the Chief's Critical Incident Award following an incident that happened June 3rd, 2011 involving a drive-by shooting. On the evening of June 3, 2011, B Squad was working under the supervision of Sergeant Eric Herman. Several additional officers, including Officer Mike Bauer, Officer Paul Kilquist, Officer Jason Harrison, were also working uniformed foot patrol on the grounds of the St. Peter and Paul Carnival picnic. At approximately 2300 hours at the St. Peter and Paul picnic, as they were shutting down, Officer Tillman was investigating a disturbance call and advised Collinsville Communications Center via radio that he heard shots heard in the area of North Aurora and Clay Streets, about 2 blocks from the picnic ground at the St. Peter and Paul picnic. All the on-duty personnel immediately converged on the area and quickly discovered the shots were fired during a drive-by shooting. While speaking with witnesses, Officer Tillman learned the suspect's vehicle was a white passenger car. Within a matter of minutes, all of the on-duty officers were canvassing the area of East Clay and North Chestnut Streets. Officer Tillman and Officer Akers located the suspect vehicle fleeing the scene at a high rate of speed and conducted a felony stop. Sergeant Herman, Officer Doug Talbot, Officer Ray Rowland, Officer Bauer, Officer Kilquist, and Officer Harrison simultaneously arrived on the scene and covered Officer Tillman and Akers as they performed the high-risk felony traffic stop. While the officers removed 5 suspects from the vehicle, Sergeant Herman controlled the scene of the stop and coordinated the search for firearms. Officer Ray Rowland located 2 victims of the drive-by shooting, brought them to the scene of the felony stop, and conducted a show-up which led to the positive identification and arrest of the 2 suspects. During the search of the scene, Officer Tillman located and seized an Astra 25 caliber semi-automatic handgun on the ground outside the passenger side door of the suspect vehicle. Shortly thereafter, Detective Meath, the on-call detective, responded to the scene to further investigate the case. Detective Meath interviewed 2 victims, 3 witnesses, and both suspects multiple times throughout the night. As a result of his dogged investigation, Detective Meath learned that the drive-by shooting was related to the escalating violence between 2 Hispanic gangs. During the follow-up investigation, Detective Meath obtained confessions from both suspects, who admitted that they had taken turns firing the weapon from the moving vehicle towards the intended victims. Unfortunately, no one was injured. The collective efforts of the Patrol Division and Detective Meath led to the immediate identification and arrest of 2 gang members engaged in a drive-by shooting. The excellent police work and flawless teamwork demonstrated on the night of June the 3rd, 2011, brought 2 violent gang members to justice. The Madison County State's Attorney's Office subsequently charged both suspects with aggravated discharge of a firearm and reckless discharge of a firearm. The Awards Committee voted in favor of awarding Sergeant Eric Herman, Officers Mike Bauer, Paul Kilquist, Luke Tillman, Brad Akers, Doug Talbot, Ray Rowland, Jason Harrison, and Detective Chris Meath with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Incident Award for their exceptional response, effort, and performance during this critical incident. Congratulations. Will the following individuals please come forth? Lieutenant Todd Link, Officer Doug Talbot, Officer Brad Akers, Officer Luke Tillman, Officer Mike Bell, Officer Mike Brown, Officer Bud Jeremias, Detective Mark Krug, Detective Mark Keekley, Dispatcher Marissa Vickers, Dispatcher Lauren Bettorf. Lieutenant Eric Zaber nominated Lieutenant Todd Link, Officers Doug Talbot, Brad Akers, Luke Tillman, Mike Bell, Mike Brown, Mike Reichert, Bud Jeremias, Detectives Mark Krug, Mark Keekley, Dispatcher Marissa Vickers, and Lauren Bettorf for the Chief's Critical Incident Award following an incident that happened November 15th, 2011. At approximately 22:02 hours, the Collinsville Police Department Communications Center received a 911 transfer from the St. Clair County Sheriff's Department that originated in the area of Nelson and Bruce Streets. The caller advised the CCC she witnessed an armed robbery and provided suspect and suspect vehicle descriptions. It was later determined that one of the suspects fired at least one shot during the incident. The CCC, staffed by dispatchers Vickers and Bettorf, immediately dispatched Collinsville Police Department personnel to the areas of Nelson and Bruce Streets to investigate. Acting Sergeant Talbot was already in the area and observed the suspect vehicle driving erratically toward Collinsville Road. Officer Talbot and his cover unit, Officer Akers, attempted to stop the fleeing suspect on Collinsville Road, but the suspect's vehicle refused to stop and fled the area at a high rate of speed. Officer Talbot and Akers pursued the fleeing felon with their partner. Officers Talbot and Akers pursued the fleeing felony suspect with their partners, Officer Bell and Tillman, responding to the address on Arnold Street to meet with the victims. Officer Tillman quickly realized another suspect was at large on foot in the area of Nelson and Bruce Streets after committing the home invasion, which is a Class X felony. Officer Tillman also discovered both suspects were armed with handguns and shots were fired following the initial home invasion. While Officers Talbot and Akers continued the pursuit, Officer Tillman and Bell, along with the assistance of the Illinois State Police and the Fairmont City Police Department, established a perimeter in the areas of Nelson and Bruce Street in an effort to capture the armed assailant still at large in the Collinsville area. As the pursuit entered Allerton, an area that was unfamiliar to Officers Talbot and Akers, Officer Talbot and the acting watch commander made a wise decision to terminate the pursuit and return to the city of Collinsville to help capture the suspect on large. Although justified to continue the pursuit, Officer Talbot's decision demonstrated sound judgment during the rapidly evolving and volatile situation. Once Officers Talbot and Akers returned to the area of Nelson and Bruce Streets, Officer Akers and his canine partner Sable began tracking the suspect on foot. Within moments of initiating the track, Sable located the second suspect that was hiding in a drainage ditch, partially submerged in the water, in an effort to avoid detection or arrest. The officers arrested the suspect without injury to themselves or injuring the suspect, a convicted felon, on federal supervised release for gun and drug-related charges. Following the suspect's arrest, and with the assistance of Officer Brown, Canine Officer Jeremias, and his canine partner Alcatraz, and Detective Krug of the Collinsville Police Department worked together as a team to simultaneously secure the victim's residence while continuing to search for the suspect's weapon. After utilizing air support from the St. Louis County Police Department and searching the area on foot, the Collinsville Police Department was satisfied no additional suspects remained in the area of in the Collinsville area. The following morning, November 6, 2011, Lieutenant Link coordinated a search in the area of the home invasion because he believed the fleeing suspect had hidden a gun prior to his arrest. Lieutenant Link and additional investigators, Detectives Keekly and Krug, used canine units, infrared cameras, and metal detectors in an effort to locate the discarded evidence. Although Lieutenant Link searched for several hours, the search team was unable to locate a gun or any additional evidence. Although frustrated, Lieutenant Link refused to quit. Lieutenant Link, Detectives Keekly, and Detectives Krug continued to press the captured suspect for more information. During one interview, Detective Krug developed information from the suspect suggesting he had discarded a gun prior to the arrest. On November the 17th, Lieutenant Link, Officer Reichert, and his canine partner Macho, and their detective vision once again searched the area of Nelson and Bruce Streets. Officer Reichert and Macho discovered a discarded glove matching the description of the gloves worn by the suspect during the home invasion. As Macho continued to track the discarded evidence, the search team discovered a second glove and a dark-colored hooded jacket hanging from a fence near Interstate 255. On the ground, near the clothing, was a loaded semi-automatic pistol, which matched the description of the firearm used during the home invasion. The suspect was ultimately charged with home invasion and armed robbery. Due to his significant crime history, the suspect may be facing federal charges for possession of a firearm. The awards committee voted in favor of awarding Lieutenant Todd Link, Officers Doug Talbot, Brad Akers, Luke Tillman, Mike Bell, Mike Brown, Bud Jeremias, Detectives Krug and Mark Keekly, dispatchers Marissa Vickers and Lauren Bettorf with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Critical Incident Award. Congratulations. Yeah. Thank you. How many of you in the audience are swelling with pride right now? There you go. I am too, and I just know these people as friends. The Chief's Award of Merit. The Chief's Award of Merit may be awarded to an officer or civilian employee for an act of duty that brings credit to the member and the department. A member may be awarded the Chief's Award of Merit in lieu of a commendation medal when it is determined that the circumstances surrounding the act which the member performed did not warrant the awarding of a higher award, but does not warrant a lesser award. An officer or civilian employee may be awarded the Chief's Award of Merit for an act of professionalism or performance that brings credit to the department and improves or involves performance deemed by the committee to be exceptional in nature and above and beyond the normal performance. Detective Mark Krug, will you please come forward? Lieutenant Todd Leak nominated Detective Mark Krug for the Chief's Award of Merit for his work and effort demonstrated while investigating 2 deviant sexual offenders. First sexual predator was identified on January 25, 2011 with the help of Officer Ray Rowland. Officer Rowland arrested a male suspect who was caught stealing girls' panties at the Walmart. Detective Krug, through his training and experience, recognized such behavior as associated with sexual predators. Detective Krug conducted a criminal history check on the suspect and discovered that he had an extensive history of preying on young children. Detective Krug interviewed the suspected pedophile, and the suspect confessed that he had been downloading and viewing child pornography. With this new information, Detective Krug applied for and received a search warrant authorizing him to view the images on the subject's cell phone. Detective Krug verified his suspicions with the search warrant and executed and found multiple images of child pornography which was discovered on the subject's cell phone. Detective Krug's investigation led to the prosecution of the suspect prosecution of the suspect fairly for the possession and transportation of child pornography across state lines. The suspect was sentenced to 252 months in the Federal Bureau of Prisons for his crimes against children. Second sexual predator was identified with the help of one of the suspect's courageous victims. Detective Krug, acting on the information received by a victim, discovered the suspect, a foster parent and Boy Scout troop leader, had been sexually exploiting several young boys over the course of many years. Although the Collinsville Police Department developed strong evidence against the suspect, the prosecuting attorney was initially reluctant to prosecute without verification of the deviant sexual acts. Knowing this, Detective Krug, a member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Cybercrime Task Force, employed a federal overhear to capture the conversation between the suspect and one of his many victims. The conversation was the primary catalyst for criminal charges against the suspect. Once charged, Detective Krug identified several other suspects related to the suspect or in care of the suspect. The suspect, due to Detective Krug's tenacity, is now facing federal prosecution for his heinous crimes against children. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Detective Mark Krug with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Award of Merit for bringing exceptional credit to the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations. Detective Mark Keekley, please come forward. Sergeant Chuck Macon nominated Officer Mark Keekley for the Chief's Award of Merit following an incident on February 1st, 2011, involving a Collinsville Police Department canine blaze. While Officer Mike Bauer, a Collinsville Police Department canine officer, was allowing his canine partner Blaze with a break on the 500 block of Elm Street, and an unidentified subject illegally riding an all-terrain vehicle on the roadway struck Blaze with his ATV. The force of the impact launched Blaze airborne for nearly 15 feet from the impact site. The driver of the ATV never stopped or looked back after striking Blaze. Officer Bauer was unable to identify the operator because he was wearing a helmet and goggles. Blaze was immediately transported to the Collinsville Animal Emergency Center and was treated for injuries for internal organs. Officer Keekley took it upon himself to relentlessly pursue the ATV operator following the incident. Through a neighborhood canvass, Officer Keekley developed information and ultimately led to the suspect's residence. When confronted by Officer Keekley, the suspect lied about the incident. Following his initial visit to the suspect, Officer Keekley continued to canvass the area and developed additional information leading to the suspect's complicity. Because of Officer Keekley's relentless determination to identify the ATV operator, the original suspect was arrested and ultimately confessed to hitting Blaze with his ATV. The suspect was charged with a felony for obstructing justice, and his ATV was discovered hidden in Caseyville. The Awards Committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Officer Keekley with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Award of Merit for bringing exceptional credit to the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations. Dispatcher Kathy Lee, are you in the crowd? Kathy's got a nice fan club here tonight. I don't know about you, Kathy, I have to pay mine. Oh, okay. Sergeant Brett Borum nominated Dispatcher Kathy Lee for the Chief's Award of Merit following an incident on April the 10th, 2011 involving an open, untraceable 911 call. Instead of simply disconnecting from the caller, Dispatcher Lee remained on the line and activated a telecommunications device for death, a TDD, a piece of equipment rarely utilized by the Collinsville Police Department's communications center. Once the TDD was activated, the caller responded. Once Dispatcher Lee determined the caller needed emergency assistance, she forwarded the emergency subpoena to the cellular phone company in an effort to obtain the subscriber's information. The cell phone company provider initially told Dispatcher Lee that the subscriber's information was not available. Dispatcher Lee pressed the cellular phone provider for help after the 911 caller threatened to cut his throat. As the situation deteriorated, Dispatcher Lee remained patient, confident, and persistent. Dispatcher Lee initiated a cellular phone Dispatcher Lee insisted the cellular phone company provide a ping the cellular phone in an effort to locate the signal's origin. Due to Dispatcher Lee's efforts, the Collinsville Police Department was able to help the victim, who apparently was unstable, suicidal from huffing paint and suffering from self-inflicted wounds to his neck. If not for Dispatcher Lee's quick thinking and professional commitment, the suicidal suspect may have ultimately succeeded in taking his own life. The Awards Committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Dispatcher Lee with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Award of Merit, bringing exceptional credit to the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations. Officer Luke Tillman, please. You're a lucky man, Luke. My wife doesn't clap like that, and we've been married 33 years.
She's amazing.
Can I say? Sergeant Eric Herman nominated Officer Luke Tillman for the Chief's Award of Merit following an incident on May 21st, 2011 involving a suicidal suspect armed with a gun. The caller, a concerned family member, was hysterical and intoxicated and unable to provide an accurate location of the suicidal suspect. The caller reported that the suicidal suspect was walking in and out of the residence while carrying a handgun and threatening suicide. Officer Tillman deployed to the area of the caller's residence. He was confronted by the suicidal suspect in the shadows of the caller's backyard. Officer Tillman quickly took cover behind his police car and ordered the suicidal suspect to drop his gun. The suicidal suspect failed to comply with Officer Tillman's lawful commands, forcing Officer Tillman to act. Although deadly force was justified, Officer Tillman deployed his Taser X26, a less lethal alternative, while his fellow Collinsville officers covered the suicidal suspect with their firearms in the event that the Taser X26 failed to subdue the subject. Officer Tillman's rapid response prevented the use of potential deadly force and quelled the situation with minimal injury of the suicidal suspect. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Officer Tillman with the Collinsville Police Department's Award of Merit for bringing exceptional credit to the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations. Dispatchers Shauna Robinson and Dispatcher Jared Runyon, are you here? Sergeant Gary Skaggs nominated dispatchers Shauna Robinson and Jared Runyon for the Chief's Award of Merit following an incident on September 12, 2011 involving a fatal motor vehicle crash. Dispatchers Robinson and Runyon, both part-time employees, were staffing the Collinsville Police Department's dispatch center when they received a 911 call reporting a serious accident on Caseyville Road near St. Louis Road. During that same time period, the Collinsville Police Department were already responding to multiple accidents and calls for service. While officers responded to the site of the accident, the 911 phone kept ringing as motorists kept reporting the accident and the severity of the accident. Officers learned a motorist traveling northbound on Caseyville Road at an extremely high rate of speed collided head-on with another vehicle that was coming from the opposite direction. Upon arrival, the responding officers suspected a fatality due to the extensive damage inflicted by the speeding vehicle. Dispatcher Runyon confirmed this report with the responding officer and immediately began redirecting other police units to the scene of the accident to assist. Both Dispatcher Runyon and Dispatcher Robinson began directing Collinsville Fire Department, EMS, and fire units to the accident scene while coordinating additional assistance from the neighboring fire districts. The 911 emergency line continued to ring as onlookers reported the incident. While these events were unfolding, dispatchers Robinson and Runyon also coordinated with the Collinsville Emergency Management Agency to coordinate their members for assistance with traffic control, allowing first responders to focus on the severely injured occupants of the victim vehicle. EMS personnel requested airlift assistance for the injured parties occupying the victim vehicle, including an injured infant. Dispatchers Robinson and Runyon coordinated between EMS units on the ground and the approaching helicopter. All of the aforementioned events developed quickly and with urgency. Dispatchers Robinson and Runyon remained calm, professional, and ready throughout the entire situation. Their professionalism provided the foundation for an efficient deployment of emergency services, and the awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding dispatchers Runyon and Robinson with the Collinsville Police Department's Award of Merit for bringing exceptional credit to the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations. Officer Mike Reichert. Sergeant Brett Borum nominated Officer Mike Reichert for the Chief's Award of Merit following an incident on November 14, 2011 involving the pursuit and apprehension of 2 armed robbery suspects. During the initial pursuit, Officer Reichert was monitoring the ISPERN radio traffic when he overheard Belleville Police Department officers indicating he was pursuing a vehicle involved with an armed robbery in Belleville, Illinois, and earlier in Caseyville, Illinois. The pursuing officer notified ISPERN the vehicle was exiting Interstate 255 onto Collinsville Road. Officer Reichert and his canine partner Macho responding to the area and observed the pursuit heading toward State Park Place. Shortly thereafter, the suspect vehicle became disabled in the backyard of the residence, and both armed suspects fled on foot. Acting quickly and decisively, Officer Reichert exited the vehicle and deployed Macho. As Macho was tracking, Officer Reichert learned both suspects were apprehended. The arresting officers notified Officer Reichert a firearm holster was discovered in the subject vehicle, but there was no firearm. Officer Reichert and Macho continued to track for evidence because Officer Reichert suspected the suspects discarded a gun as they fled on foot. As Officer Reichert and Macho retraced the suspects' tracks, Macho diverted toward a nearby levee located 400 to 500 yards away from the suspect vehicle. Macho continued to track another 100 yards along the levee before running down the levee embankment and jumping into the creek. Macho inserted his mouth into the water and retrieved a pistol magazine and returned that to Officer Reichert. After locating the magazine, Officer Reichert and Macho continued to track along the levee before Macho discovered a black Smith & Wesson firearm, weapon believed to have been used in both robberies. Both evidentiary exhibits were later turned over to the Belleville Police Department. The recovery of the pistol magazine and pistol will surely help with the prosecution of both armed robbery suspects in St. Clair County. The awards committee voted unanimously in favor of awarding Officer Mike Reichert with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Award of Merit for bringing exceptional credit to the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations. And Officer Reichert, before you wander too far, same bat time, same bat channel. Sergeant Brett Borum nominated Officer Mike Reichert for the Chief's Award of Merit for continued performance and superior efforts related to the Collinsville Police Department's drug interdiction program, including suspicious package interdiction. In 2011, Officer Reichert seized approximately 270 pounds of marijuana while working criminal patrol, and an additional 20 pounds of marijuana and 200 ecstasy tabs while working parcel interdiction at the Collinsville FedEx hub. Many of the interdicted packages were destined for our community and our neighboring communities. Officer Reichert was one of several highly trained and skilled illicit drug and money interdictors working within the Collinsville Police Department. Since his hire in 2000, he has routinely set the bar of the Collinsville Police Department regarding drug, money, and asset seizures. He serves as a positive example for others to follow, and his success inspires others to strive for higher performance. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Officer Mike Reichert with the Collinsville Police Department's Chief Award of Merit for bringing exceptional credit to the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations once again. Detective Mark Keekley and Detective Chris Meath, please. Lieutenant Todd Link nominated Detectives Mark Keekley and Chris Meath with the Chief's Award of Merit for their proactive investigation efforts related to the first Collinsville bank robbery that occurred Monday, December 12th at 10:00 hours. The Collinsville Police Department received a 911 report of a bank robbery in progress at the Belleville branch of the FCB. The bank employees described the bank robber as a shorter male wearing a green baseball cap, dark sunglasses, and a gray hoodie. During the 911 call, a bank employee advised the CCC that the bank robbery demanded $20,000. The robbery suspect also inferred that he had a gun and would use it if his demands were not met. The robbery suspect was seen fleeing the bank on foot toward Bucky's gas station. The suspect entered a silver sedan parked at Bucky's gas station lot and fled at a high rate of speed northbound on Keebler. Bricklayers working in an apartment building at the corner of Johann and Keebler reported seeing a silver getaway car speed up Johann toward Carnation Drive. With this limited information, Detectives Keekley and Meath began the investigation. Based upon these facts of the case, Detectives Keekley and Meath both suspected that the robber had some kind of connection to the neighborhood surrounding Johann and Carnation. They canvassed the area on the day of the bank robbery and days after. In doing so, they noticed one particular vehicle parked in the neighborhood matching the suspect's vehicle description. Detectives Keekley and Meath initiated surveillance on the vehicle. While conducting such surveillance, Detectives Keekley and Meath observed the vehicle of the owner of the vehicle acting extremely suspicious after he observed the detectives watching him. As the vehicle and the vehicle owner departed the area, the detectives made arrangements with the patrol division to assist them and initiate an investigative traffic stop. During the ensuing traffic stop, the Collinsville Police Department discovered the owner of the vehicle was acquainted with the bank robber, and the bank robber had confided key information to the owner of the vehicle prior to the robbery. Detectives Keekley and Meath developed this man as a witness and interviewed him at the Collinsville Police Department, uncovering additional witness identities and the location of the suspect vehicle and the related evidentiary exhibits. Although some may call this coincidence, the Collinsville Police Department knows that their proactive investigation work led to the immediate arrest of the robbery suspects in the neighboring community and the execution of 2 search warrants in Collinsville. Within 48 hours of the initial 911 call, Detectives Keekley and Meath solved the bank robbery. The Madison County State's Attorney Office charged the suspects with aggravated robbery, and the awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Detectives Mark Keekley and Detective Chris Meath with the Chief Award of Merit for bringing exceptional credit for the Collinsville Police Department. Congratulations, you two. The Distinguished Service Medal. This is the second highest award the department may bestow. The Distinguished Service Medal is presented to members who perform a dangerous and distinguished act that conspicuously exceeds the performance that is normally expected, disregarding his or her his own personal safety in the face of exigent circumstances. Officer Bud Jeremias. Sergeant Chuck Macon nominated Officer Wilbert Bud Jeremias for the Distinguished Service Medal following an incident on January 14, 2011, involving a structure fire at Fowler Data. While patrolling the area of the Idlewood Estates area, Officer Jeremias observed smoke emanating from the Fowler Data building on South Morrison Drive. Officer Jeremias reported his observations to the Collinsville Communications Center and responded to the Fowler Data building to further investigate it. He knew the apartments above the business were occupied by multiple tenants. Upon arrival, Officer Jeremias discovered the building was ablaze. Without regard to his own personal safety, Officer Jeremias acted decisively and entered the burning building in an effort to evacuate the tenants on the second floor. Officer Jeremias identified the source of the smoke and entered the burning apartment. Officer Jeremias searched the apartment with negative results. As the fire spread, Officer Jeremias discovered tenants occupying 2 additional units who were unaware of the fire. Officer Jeremias searched the additional apartments on the second floor and the lower level as the fire continued to spread, leading 4 adults and 3 children to safety. Although the intense fire damaged the building, Officer Jeremias' rapid response and courageous efforts helped save the lives of 7 members of our community. The awards committee unanimously voted in favor of awarding Officer Jeremias with the Distinguished Service Medal for performing a dangerous and distinguished act that conspicuously exceeds the performance of what is normally expected, disregarding his own personal safety in the face of exigent circumstances. Congratulations on this high award.
part of this award, Officer Jeremias receives a commendation letter from Chief Williams, as well as a Distinguished Service ribbon to pin on his uniform. At Bud's request, he has asked that his wife, Angela, and daughter, Megan, step forward and pin that pin on his uniform. Angela, Megan. At this time, that concludes our award ceremony for the evening. On behalf of the awards committee, we would all like to congratulate all the recipients for your awards. You certainly earned it. On behalf of the Collinsville Police Department, thank you for attending the Collinsville Police Department awards ceremony. Please drive carefully as you head out, and hope to see you next year. Thank you very much.